Hey guys, it's Logan here with Hydra572. Now, before I had this terrible little phone box with the Notes app, and before I made myself a little list of my videos that I needed to do on YouTube, which was a terrible decision because now I never get to forget anything, I used to write this stuff up on lined paper, whether I was at school or doing whatever that I didn't want to be paying attention to. I would write this stuff out, so there were always these sheets floating around that I was losing and stacking up in one spot and putting in another, putting in drawers and jostling around and all that. And they would have these ideas for videos on them, and I found a couple of them the other day, and one thing that I didn't have in the notes sheet on my iPod was the review/overview of the AKC Leverletto. So I went ahead and added that to my little notes sheet on my iPod, and a couple of days ago I was sitting around thinking about what video I wanted to make that day, and I was playing with this thing. I was kind of jostling this side to side, the little lever side to side. It had a little bit of play, and I was playing with it, and I heard a pop. And what had actually happened, I'll explain. The way this thing works, first off, is within the handle itself, you have two pieces of spring-like metal. That first one in the back, you can see along the back there, that moves and flexes when the blade is flipping open and applies pressure to the back of the blade. And then this one inside the handle that you can see, hopefully, that actually provides the spring tension for the knife. So the blade is constantly under spring tension, and the only thing that's keeping it from flipping out all the time is this little plunger that you move by pushing the lever down, and the lever is levered off of. The fulcrum is a piece of the bolster. And so when you push down on the lever, that little plunger comes out, the blade is free to swing open, and you get this. Now, it took a little bit of investigating, but what had actually happened was that little plunger developed a hairline crack, and it sort of changed the dimensions of the plunger. It's now a little bit wider, and it looked like the knife was just screwed forever, which was a real bummer. I picked this thing up the first time I ever went to the Tanner Gun Show, which was the first gun show that I went to. I went with Chad and my dad, and this is the only thing that I have left from that show, so I really wanted to keep it and keep it functioning. Since then, it has regained a little bit of functionality. At the time, it just wasn't locking shut. As I said, that piece cracked, and it got a little bit bigger, and it wasn't fitting in the hole on the blade, which I have displayed there. That's how it locks open and shut. When it is open, then there's a little hole for the plunger to go to, and when it's closed, there's a little hole for the plunger to go into. There, just there, you can see the little gap. That is the rectangular hole that I'm talking about. It is between the bolster and the blade right now. The higher one is for when it is locked closed, the lower one for when it is locked open. So that was a bummer. I finally got it to work a little better by pressing down that pin a little bit tighter, tightening up the fulcrum point of that lever so that the plunger would go in a little bit easier. So it's working better now, though it's not fixed. It is opening and locking closed part of the time. Still, I think I'm going to end up retiring this thing. I might put it in a shadow box, put it up on the wall, something like that. If I do that, I might make it a project video and show you guys. But I figured what better time than now, after the thing has finally developed its first failure, to talk about it a little bit. And I did kind of always know that it was going to fail. Some designs just aren't very durable, and I had come to the conclusion that Italian stilettos were one of these. And in each hobby, you kind of have these designs that everybody knows just can't be all that durable even when executed well. For the airsoft guys, it's our fully automatic gas blowback pistols. Everybody knows even the best ones eventually are going to develop problems. The design just cannot withstand the forces that are inherent with the design. It will eventually tear itself apart. For my firearm guys, it's our piston-driven AR-15s. And good God, I'm glad that I don't have a whole bunch of knife guys watching my videos, because that would have spawned just the comment war to end all comment wars. But you guys get the point. So I wanted to talk about this thing now. It won't be a typical review because I don't think of this as a knife in the typical sense. This is definitely a collection piece for me rather than a user knife. I love my Italian stilettos. I have a couple of them and a couple of Italian stiletto inspired pieces, and this is just one of them. The other is the Spyderco Volatin and the Cold Steel Tie-Light. So this is just one piece of the collection, and so I bought it mainly as that collection piece because I liked it. I did carry it some. As is typical for Italian stilettos, the steel is just unspecified inox. The blade retention, the edge retention, was not fantastic, and I never really bothered getting it completely hair-shaving sharp, but it does cut. These things are available on Blade Play, I think is the best way to buy them. They're affiliate sister company of Blade HQ. They've got some cooler, maybe lower quality stuff, some lower cost stuff to be sure. So companies like AKC I find the best place to, SKM and Frank Beltrame as well. Best place to buy them is Blade Play, not Blade HQ. So these things are available. This one is the black tactical Leverletto. That is not available right now, though I'm sure it'll be restocked eventually. But other Leverlettos are available, and they all are very similar, so I figured I could review them all with this one blade. So one main question of mine when I purchased the thing was how long it was going to last. And the answer in our little one-point case study turned out to be right around 3 years of sporadic openings and really not all that many openings. It wasn't a regular carry for me, though I did open it and flick it around like knife lovers tend to do with cool deploying knives. So there you go. That's ultimately pretty disappointing. You know, it wouldn't really be acceptable for any of my other blades, say, just because it's on me. If the SOG Twitch tore itself apart just from the assisted opening, I would say it was a low-quality blade. But like I said, I'm not reviewing this like I would review a typical blade. It is just more of a collection piece, though one that I hope people can buy and flip around some and enjoy. And for the price tag of around $100, depending on which model you buy, I think it's pretty reasonable how long it lasted. So yeah, I would not expect to be doing any serious cutting. I wouldn't think of this as a real defensive blade, just because with the plunger lock I'm not sure I trust that lock strength. I don't think it's an optimal blade profile. I think for defensive use you're going to be wanting to do more slashing than stabbing, just to expose yourself less. But I'm not an expert in that, and if you're looking for a design like this to use in defense, I would point you more toward the cold steel tie lights. For just EDC usage, depending on the legality of switchblades in your area, I also wouldn't recommend it just because there's no reason for you to be hassled by a citizen or an officer just for using your EDC blade to open up a package of Skittles or something like that. You don't need to be getting yourself into that all the time. But as a cool piece, if you love The Outsiders, I don't know if you love Grease or West Side Story or something, if you're an Italian stiletto fan just because they're a very cool looking and functioning thing, then I think it's a cool collection piece. I think it's one of the higher quality options. I do not own a Frank Beltrame or an SKM to compare to, though I might be picking one up to replace and fill this hole in my collection now that this thing is probably going in a shadow box. So yeah, there's my quick little overview. The handle material will be in flux depending on which model you buy, and most of them have a similar blade profile, but no coating. And before the little hairline fracture developed, they can be a pain in the ass to open. You just have to be sure that when you get yours new, you're going to fail to open it a few times. You want your thumb as far out on the end of that lever as you can get it, and you want to push down and kind of in aggressively and quickly, because that lever, or that plunger that goes into the blade, does drag along the blade while the blade's trying to be opened, and it adds a whole lot of friction. It is a design flaw, but I still like them. Overall, more of a novelty collection piece, and so now this one's pretty easy to open. It doesn't matter where I put my thumb on it, but I will try to demonstrate what it was like to open it back when it was functioning fully. So it would be like this, and that would get it done almost every time. It is a little technique that you have to master, sort of like the first time that you learn to do the little middle finger spider flick. It took me a week of just sitting there practicing to finally get it, and now I can do it even on the tougher, grittier, and just more difficult spider coast to flip open. I can do it. So, but alas, I'm ranting and getting off track. Main point is my AKC Leverletto broke, and that makes me very sad. But regardless, they are a cool little thing for Italian stiletto fans. If you're looking into picking one up, do so without fear. They last a little bit with sporadic use, like you would get out of a collector and a knife lover. So, there you go. AKC Leverletto. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more of the same.